Is it still morning? Good morning, Commissioners. Pamela Flick with Defenders of Wildlife. First and foremost, congratulations to President Gustafson and Vice President Kellogg for your new roles. And thank you to Commissioner Rogers for your service as President over the last 2 years. Defenders of Wildlife remains committed to this effort, and in the past year we've secured $25,000 to support a condor field biologist position in partnership with Ventana Wildlife Society. I'm very pleased to hear the update from Dale, especially regarding the funding that's coming in and the discussion regarding the comprehensive biological monitoring, which was a concern to us, but I'm glad to hear that all of the parties working in California on the wild condors are working together to enhance their communications, their data flow, et cetera. And in light of today's presentation, we would like to see the Commission take a proactive approach to a statewide implementation instead of being in this catch-up mode that it found itself in when the legislature decided to make the first move on the non-lead ammo in condor country. As expected, the market reacted very clearly and perhaps even more swiftly than we anticipated with the expansion of lead-free ammunition and including the recent announcement on the 22 from Winchester. It's my understanding that the 22 mag should be available in January and the long rifle will be available in March, according to their press releases. And also would like to thank the Commission once again for going above and beyond AB 821 and including the 22. Less than a year from the regulations going into place, we have, a new product on the market, and that's what we anticipated. And it also goes without saying that condors are not the only species affected by lead ammunition and poisoning from that. Studies show that other wildlife are affected by this toxic substance as well as humans, and we feel that it's simply irresponsible to allow lead to continually be distributed into our environment when there's a reasonable alternative that exists and is required in some parts of the state. We've taken lead out of everything from plumbing to cookware and even shot for waterfowl. Non-lead ammunition is becoming more widely available, and as demand increases, the price will decrease. We're very glad to hear Chief Foley's report on education and enforcement efforts. It is indeed good to hear that. I did have some concerns regarding the messaging from the department and training of their wardens in the role of educating the hunters and the public based on a Fresno Bee article from last year. But I did just recently hear through the grapevine that there are still some folks in the department that strongly disagree with the non-lead requirement and are refusing to discuss it with the public, which is certainly a concern for ours.
I'm sorry, do you have any names?
I don't. I can look into...
If you can find those names, I'm sure this commission would like to know what they are, and I'm sure the department's management would like to know what they are.
I've heard specifically that it was out of the Fresno office. That's all I've heard at this point. Thank you very much for all of your work on this. We appreciate it.
Pam, a quick question. You mentioned, you suggested that the commission begin to proactively look at the next steps in this process. The objective being, as you suggested, to get lead out of the food chain of our wildlife. We heard from Dale this morning some evidence that I hadn't seen before about the impact of lead poisoning on other wildlife other than condors. We also see the recovery plan predicting that the condors are likely to recover throughout their entire historical range. This is obviously a controversial issue, and there will be many who don't want to see us go further in terms of implementing this requirement for the use of non-toxic ammunition. Can you expand just a little bit on what you think we should do in terms of rolling out an expanded program?
Well, I think that it certainly is building on the success of this, and we've seen that just within the first year of this program, very good enforcement and education efforts. I think building on those efforts statewide and doing maybe a proactive educational effort and more focus on voluntary effort, that we could use a stepped approach at expanding the ban lead statewide. I think that would be a good first step for sure, and that's what we'd like to see the Commission start at this point. Thank you.
I just want to remind other commissioners that she's making me a profit. I told you in the very beginning, and they did themselves when we were up in Humboldt, that their goal was to ban lead statewide. It wasn't about just the condor. And I still say today that they still don't have proof that it's lead bullets that the condors are dying from. It's just lead poisoning, and I've never denied that they haven't been dying from lead poisoning. But there were more of them last year that died from other causes than there were from lead in the first place.